For doing the hot cutting, I'm going to be using a bottom hot cut hardy. Well, strictly speaking, a hardy is a hot cut hardy, but nowadays people generally refer to anything that goes into the hardy hole as a hardy tool, which does make quite a lot of sense. Basically, if you are too lazy or you just don't have the time or inclination to hammer out a huge piece of steel, draw out the shank to fit in the hardy hole and then bring it to an edge, maybe even forge right a cutting bit in. If you don't have the time for that, because you want to get on and actually forge, you might not have a whole lot of time at the forge, you can make one of these. Now, you can't see very clearly, but literally all this is, you get a piece of steel the same size as your hardy hole. Box section would be perfect for this, although solid stuff works just as well. You simply get that and get a small, about a 2-inch section of box section of angle iron. Then it's a simple case of putting an edge on it. Now, I've got a chisel edge, so the one side, my good side, is going to be flat on the metal, and the other side will have a bit of a bevel on it where it cuts. You can have it however you like. You don't want to bring it too much of an edge, because it's not particularly hard. You'll lose that edge quite quickly if you bring it too sharp, and it will get damaged. So you only want to touch an edge on there, especially if the box section, the angle iron itself is quite thin. You ideally want something thicker than this, and you use this just as you would a normal hot cut. So you just, with this welded on the back here, you can stick that in your hardy hole and then use it as a hot cut. Saves a hell of a lot of time, a hell of a lot of effort, and it works just as well. But it is, I can't stress enough how important it is to get this square here, because otherwise, it'll be, you're relying on this to kind of keep it in and keep it straight, keep it from doing this, and keep it from twisting. And this will be sitting flat on the bottom on the top of your anvil like this. Now, if this isn't straight, then this is going to be at an angle, and you're going to be hitting like this, and you're going to be putting a hell of a lot of force on these welds, and it's going to break. Okay, so it's important to make sure that when this is in, that this does entirely sit flat on your anvil, otherwise it will not work. Other than that, it's incredibly easy, and it's a lot faster. If you've got a MIG weld or something like that, or a stick weld or whatever, it's a hell of a lot quicker than drawing it out and forging yourself a hot cut. Or you can just use in the meantime until you make one, because you might want to get around to making one at some point, but it is a lot of time and effort. So yeah, this. I'll link you, if you go on anvilfire.com, there's a blueprint there for 4 easy tools, and this is one of them. I'll try and link it, but if I remember rightly, Anvilfire doesn't like being linked to. I'll confirm that and put a link in the description if I can. If not, I'll just describe how to get there, because that's so much better than linking. Now the trick here is to get to a good hot yellow. You take your time, use the entire heat to make sure you've got this cut exactly where you want it, and then simply set the cut all the way along, making sure it doesn't jump, which it shouldn't if it's hot enough. And then you should have your guide, so the next time you go to cut, it will just sit in there nicely, and that way you don't end up with multiple marks. So I'm going to get this back in the fire, and with a hot cut, especially one made of soft material like this, make sure you keep the metal nice and hot, otherwise you'll ruin this. You can increase the life of this by heating up and quenching it in super quench, or just any brine mix. That will harden a lot of mild steels, to a point anyway. You don't need to temper it, by the way, because it doesn't get it that hard. The super quench mix has all sorts of stuff in there, as well as the salt water. It has like there's some kind of From what I gather, it's some kind of like fairy liquid, a washing liquid, but I don't know a UK equivalent. Obviously, you could say, oh yeah, just use fairy liquid. That's a washing powder, but washing fluid. But I'm going to assume that there's something special about this particular type, some ingredients that makes it useful. I believe it's to stop bubbling or something like that. When you're hammering the material through and using the hot cuts, make sure that when you reach the end, don't start smashing it with a hammer. You don't want your hammer to impact on the hot cut, because especially if this was a hardened hot cut, you'd completely ruin it, and maybe your hammer as well. With this, it's not so much of a problem, but you will damage the hot cuts. Go through until you see black. Like, as in it's about to come through, and then you can either go in from the other side or just bend it off, which is what I normally do, and snap it. Forge is getting a bit clinkered up, so that's dropped in the hole. Now that's going to sit in the hole we just set, and then you've got to make sure that you don't hammer this all the way through. If you do, your hammer's going to hit the hot cut and you'll damage both your hammer and your hot cut, which isn't good. There's two ways around this. There's two ways around it. The first of all is to use a leather hammer, so that even if you do go through, it's not a problem, because you're going to damage the hammer but not the tool. The second is to go most of the way through, almost completely through, so you see black, and then simply snap it off by bending it back and forth a few times. Either way works just as well. The first one is probably a little cleaner, I must admit. Make sure, especially when you're using one like this, which is mild steel, the steel's got to be nice and hot, otherwise it's going to damage this really quickly. I suggest you make up a brine mix and salt water to quench this mild sealing, because that will make it slightly harder and will make it a little more durable. Especially with 5160, which hates to be hot cut. .5160 will hate you for forging it thinner than anything like 1/4 inch. It's hard work, and it'll eat through stuff like this if you're not careful. That's why I'm keeping it. I'm only cutting it yellow. When it gets to like cherry red, go straight back in. So with mild steel, you can pretty much cut it cold. You know, at a black heat, so you can cut it. But with this, no way. That's all. Yeah, that's almost through. So I'm going to direct the blows a little off. If that does go, I'm not hammering the edge of the tool. And can you see the telltale time where the line where I'm cutting is much cooler than the rest of it? Because obviously thinner material cools down quickly. So there's our cut. So we could carry this on and finish it off in here, but I suggest it'd be much safer to get it up like this. Now, you can get this hotter again and bend it back and forth, or you can hammer it a little colder. Either way, and normally a good shearing blow like these, he says, normally get it off. But this one's a little reluctant, so I'm going to heat it up again and bend it off. It's very hot on that. What do you use? And you only need a dull heat for this because the material you're bending is so thin. Now I'm doing it on the anvil. I'd suggest you clamp this in the vise to do it. It'll make it a lot easier. But like a spoon handle, it just breaks off. And now we're left with our edge, which will want a little cleaning up with the hammer, but that's not a problem. We're going to bring it up a little bit as well, but that's generally pretty nice. Okay, so I'm going to call it a day here because I've got lots of other stuff to do after this. It's a good way to put it off is blacksmithing, but it does eat up your day. Anyway, but that's what we're left with. So basically what we've got here, it still looks like a mess, but we have got most of the roughing out done. So we've got the edge clipped, we've got the point started, and we've got the bevels almost there. They're down to still quite wide, but you got them set, which is the important thing. We've got the angles all set. That's probably the hardest part. And then it's just a case of continuing those on. I might do a primary and secondary bevel. So basically that means that the whole blade will taper down from the back of the blade down to the point, but you have almost like an axe. It tapers down, tapers down, tapers down, and then you have another taper that comes in a bit sharper. Otherwise, if I was to do one taper all the way down, to get that sharp enough, you'd end up drawing the material so far down, it'd be wider than it is long. Maybe an exaggeration, but that's the point. So yeah, what's left is to, I've probably told you this about 5 times, draw out the tang, finish off with the bevels, finish off the facing, put the distal taper on, and then do the handles. So still most of it left to do, but you know, we made a start. So hopefully we'll avoid grinding as much as possible. And what I'll probably have to do, because this is a leaf spring, there's a lovely little hole right in the middle of it, being inconvenient. That'll be in the tang anyway, so it's not too much. You probably won't even see it. But what I'll do is I'll just fill it with some weld. I'll weld it up. It's only mild steel, but you know, most blades back in the day, or a lot of them anyway, the majority of the blade was mild steel, and only the cutting edge, which was forge welded in, was a high carbon steel. That's especially with like the Japanese blades, which I'm not going to get into, but yeah, basically that's normally I think it's better because you end up with a spine that can absorb much more of a shock, especially with like a chopping knife. You know, you can be a bit rough with it and absorb all that impact, but with a hard cutting bit. Anyway, I'm going off on a tangent again, but yeah. So we've got a bit of work to do, but made a start. So keep your eyes open. There'll be videos coming. I might continue this next weekend with any luck. Hopefully get all the forging finished in the next video, and then yeah, once all that's done, I might do a video of doing the handle and the cross guard, because it's quite a nice cross guard. I'll certainly show a video of that. Whether I'll do the handle or not, I don't know, because I'm not the greatest at making handles. I'm no carpenter by any means. So I may or may not show the handle, but I'll certainly show the finished product if and when I get around to finishing it. So thanks for watching, comment, rate, subscribe. So yeah, that's been probably the most disorganised video I've done in a long time. I did it kind of on a whim. I just came out here and decided, you know what, it's lunch, I'll come out here, I'll forge this blade I've been thinking of doing, and I'll do a video of it. To be quite honest, I actually think me talking to the camera, I've been spending more time doing that than actually forging. So I hope you've enjoyed that. And if you're looking for any meaningful content, I suggest you go now, because I'm just rambling, and I do that a lot, and I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, so yeah, comment, rate, subscribe. Yeah, we'll finish this off in the next video, forging anyway. I'm going to avoid repeating myself, and to do that, I'm just going to go. So, bye.